Okay, I'll follow up with that this too.
I was gonna ask you too, I had a couple of emails I was saving. Are we good on the, there's like a opioid toolkit or something? Maybe I already did delete it. Looks like I must have. Let me see or something, but maybe it's it might be in this one. Like the rules or whatever that we can spend the opioid money on. Are we good with the toolkit?
Yeah, Max hired a guy down there to help with all of that stuff.
You get those same ones from Max that we got.
Yeah.
I thought you did, but I didn't know.
They're supposed to be getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000.
Yeah.
Right there.
It will be.
And then what we're gonna what are we gonna have the health department help us out with that? With the money?
Is that airport?
I hope the reporting requirements aren't very intensive.
Yeah.
The ARPA reporting is bad.
Is it man?
It's just tedious. I'm getting better at it
Everything's
each
just the
time,
airport
but
here.
I know some things I'm purposely reporting in the wrong category until we get done with the project stuff. And I know an end date, and I'm gonna redo it and put it in a different section, but I'll be glad when that's all done.
It is.
Your township is the answers they needed all those
I
things.
think so. They're just.
So this was never here until not that long ago, you know?
Trust me or not. So I can't completely tell.
Off the airport road.
But
That wasn't there.
They thank me for getting
I
them.
think right back in there. Used to right back there.
I'm gonna read on.
Right. April,
Hey Phil.
Oh, how you doing?
Good, good. I'll get here early. I'll get here before I get.
4 minutes. Yeah. Just trying to beat you.
I might get me one of those mic.
Brenda said I had to get here early.
I didn't.
I take directions well. What can I say? You want any more BS?
And I still haven't heard back from
I think
OP either on when he ain't starting
I
to
turned mine
me,
off.
and I asked him, well, what other dates are you thinking about? Heard anything back?
But I'm going to I know weather report or something.
It's a laser. Yeah.
It's a laser.
Big guy. Mahal,
Remember the old rollers that you had to
glasses.
take them off?
He comes, he's been out here
Clean 'em.
working on it.
Remember the
Oh, yeah. You
He
can find all
did
kinds of
ask
stuff in
me
there.
who we
Oh,
use
yeah.
for comparables normally, and I said, well, usually crash it and I won't pass stuff. Sometimes I will. He says, well, what about Kent and Clinton? And I said, no. I said, they're too big. Is it all maybe? I don't know. Yeah, a little bit richer. General fund we did.
Didn't go through, did it?
Didn't see it yet.
No. Oh, it didn't come. I'm sure it's the sender. I'm sure it's the sender. So, oh, we're going to. All right.
So we were talking in the office, like if we're gonna have folks that have things on their agenda speak, we might want to ask them to come to the table rather than going back and forth from the audience with them, because that's gonna tell everyone else in the audience they can do that. So I know Adam's thought about this, having an open conversation, and I think they need to come to the table if they got questions. Especially since we're having more people here tonight.
Mhm.
You haven't mastered this mouse up here yet either. I don't either. I use it sometimes, but typically not at home. Sometimes I use it here, but I'm more efficient with the other one.
It's gonna do that to me now. Had that in my thing all weekend reviewing it. Now it's not gonna let me open it.
Or your packets.
Yeah, it won't. It's saying the file's corrupted. No, I don't have the, so, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So
Right there.
I open that in, box it so I can have it bookmarked.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the open in. It's not gonna give me the option to open it and fox it. See, on the Fox It app, I've got them all bookmarked, but then I had it in here. Now it's not even showing up.
Ready to go. On the agenda today.
It's usually when I open
Yeah,
it
it
to
could
that
get lengthy too based on what's on it.
app. Let's go back here.
They got lots of comments. It's busier out here than it normally is.
I guess I got most here. How do I?
You just tap on
Here's where I go. So now there, if I open it, it's a download. And it'll give me a spot down here to
it. Mm-hmm.
download it and open it in that app. Oh, no. Usually have it this way. Is that Matt?
You can go back one step. 1, 2, 3. So here. That one.
That's more like what it usually is. You hit download there, open in. And I'll give you the choice to do it. But then you gotta do it. You always have to do it twice. It won't show up there the first time. You go back to this, close out of that. You go back through here again. You do this all again. Open in. There it does.
That is weird. We'll have to ask
You go through
JD
that
why it
every
does that.
week. Are you ready?
Yep.
You ready, Chris? Meeting will come to order. It's Montcalm County Board of Commissioners, regular meeting for Monday, February 13th. Begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll invite you all to stand or remain standing for the invocation, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, Vice Chairman Peterson isn't here. I see Pastor Ross is with us today, so invite him to offer the prayer, please.
Sure, let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for your great love for us, a love that provides all that we need in this life and also for the next. We pray for your blessing on this meeting, your blessing upon our county commissioners as they serve you, and on the people of this county. We pray this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call.
Baker,
Present.
Johnston,
Here.
Peterson, Painter,
Here.
Mahar,
Present.
Carr,
Yes,
Cone.
Present.
we have a quorum. Everyone have a copy of the meeting minutes, the last meeting, January 23rd, 2023.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
I'd move to approve the minutes from January 23rd, 2023.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes, the last meeting, January 23rd, 2023 is presented. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On tonight's agenda, I don't have any changes. Does anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. Been moved and supported to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments.
Good afternoon. My name is Brandon Denby. I'm the Livingston County Register of Deeds. I'm here on behalf of the 440 segment talking about combining clerk and register of deeds offices. Just wanted to reach out and let you know that we, as an association, Michigan Association of Register of Deeds, oppose the concept of combining those offices, mostly based on efficiency and effectiveness of combining those offices. Vital records courts and elections versus real property records. We believe all of these to be of great importance. We do believe that it is tough for any one person to be the best in your county at doing elections and at the same time be the best in your county at protecting the real property records of your constituents. I have a long history of being around title insurance. I've spent over 20 years around title insurance and then later became a register of deeds, as I mentioned. And in that time working in counties all the way up through the UP, it was very clear to me that when I worked in counties where there was a present register of deeds in the office on a regular basis, those offices tend to run a little bit more smoothly. And when you do have an issue in the office, that person is there or is fairly closely available to meet with you or to make corrections and take care of your concerns. When you run into an office where you have a combination, there's certain things that only an elected can make the adjustments on. And if you're in the middle of an election season or if you're in the middle of a situation where they're out at the courts dealing with court records, you know, sometimes it took days and sometimes even weeks in some of the counties to get some of your issues taken care of. Financial business, mortgages, real estate is a fast-moving business, as many of you probably know. And it is very tough to do that type of a fast-moving business when you're waiting a week or, you know, maybe longer to get your answers taken care of at a registered deeds office. So I won't beat a dead horse here. I just wanted to give you my position as a former title professional. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There, I feel more comfortable when it's up a little higher. Good afternoon. My name is Stu Sanders. I'm the legislative co-chair with my partner, Karen Hahn. And I'm the Newaygo County Register. And I'd like to share a letter from Clerk Register Lori Martin, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. She's mired in an election situation with a ballot that she needs to get approved. So if I might, if I may, I'll just go ahead and read this. This was from a couple of years ago, but the tenor of it is exactly the same. We just talked to her today. I'm Lori Martin, Clare County Clerk and Register of Deeds. She took office after working as a deputy clerk register for 3 years, and prior to that worked 13 years as a legal assistant and title company manager at a law office title company. When taking office, I did have some knowledge of all aspects of the office, and she did assume the role of clerk and register, working with the circuit court as well as elections, and that combination took 1.5 years to work through. In other words, I spent no time as register on those duties, which demanded my immediate and full attention. The Register of Deeds office was neglected by me because I had to learn the vast role of the clerk because of elections and software upgrades and so on. I'm going to cut down to the very bottom here. In my experience, when the county has financial issues, and I don't know what the issue is here, the first place commissioners want to look to is staff. While I do a good job with both positions, I could do so much more if I could only focus on one office. Clerk and Register of Deeds have absolutely nothing to do with each other and are not easy to run together. Therefore, I am urging you not to combine the Clerk and Register of Deeds in Montcalm County, Montcalm County, for the reasons listed above. And if I may, one last piece, I've written a historical perspective, and I'll pass out this at the end of the entire board proceedings today. Thanks for having us in.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments?
I'm Charles Mile, live at 700 South Cambridge Street in Stanton. I'm a former real estate lawyer. My law practice specializes in real estate, and I also have some connection with the county clerk's office for 12 years of my career as well. I think Montcalm County has been very fortunate to have a good clerk and a good register of deeds. I think both offices work well and provide excellent service. Chris Wire started the clerk's office in Ionia, came here, and then went back to Ionia, helped them get things straightened out. And I think she's well known to the state for her election expertise. And Lori Mazzola has gotten a lot of credit and recognition for her work in the Register of Deeds office. So they both do a good job in particular offices. But I think that both are specialty offices, and there's not any connection between what one office does and the other. They both manage offices, they both take care of budgets, they both do personnel, but they're doing different jobs. And I think you gain a lot by having each of them being a specialist in what they're doing. If you get ill, you don't want to go to a general practitioner, you go to a brain surgeon for brain surgery. And I think in this case, if you have real estate things, you should go to somebody who knows what they're doing. I'm familiar with the abstract offices. I started practice with Marvin Nelson later up through not well today. And we've got an excellent combination here. Most counties don't have the abstract office connected with the real estate office, with the Register of Deeds. We have both of those here. And I think Lori has done a great job getting programs that help the system work. And I also was a title office owner for a while and had daily contact with the Register of Deeds, and their records are good, the people are good, and they've got a specialty there. I think would be anticipated if we merge the office. I don't think Lori Mazzola would be a good county clerk to work with elections, which does all the real estate work. They both got expertise in their areas. I think it'd be better just keep them separate and have good work in both offices rather than try to combine them.
Thank you.
Pete Fry from Greenville, Michigan. I've been practicing in this county for almost as long as Charles Mile. I've been practicing 52 years here. And I've figured out some of it. I have figured out that if I need help at the Register of Deeds office, I can get it from Lori or her staff there excellent office down in the basement. They are a profitable office. They bring in money for the county. When I need help at Chris Millard's office, I'm able to call her and she actually answers the phone and is very courteous to me and does a good job. I ran for county commissioner 6 months ago, 4 months ago, and working with Chris was a pleasure. The county clerk not only handles elections, but handles circuit court, has another office north of town, the circuit court division. So the county clerk handles circuit court, vital records, and elections. With the present national controversy about how well clerks count the votes and whether the elections are skewed, I think we would be putting ourselves at risk by combining the two offices and having an inexperienced person after Chris Millard retires, run the office of the county clerk and the register of deeds. I agree with all three persons who have talked before me. They basically are saying the office is entirely different. My experience in 52 years has been the offices are entirely different. I doubt that any county clerk would have any idea about what an abstract office is. As Mr. Miles said, abstract office is part of the Register of Deeds office. It's very important to title companies, and it's something that the Register of Deeds should supervise. Finally, this is a political thing. I think it's a kind of a payback for the 9-day early voting issue. I think the county clerk should train the assistants who may have to help in the 20 township offices that must remain open in an election. That's not any reason to punish the Register of Deeds or to give us county residents less service by combining the two offices. It's not broken here in Montcalm. In fact, it works very well in Montcalm, both with Chris Millard and with Lori. And if it's not broke, please don't try to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? If not, we're scheduled for a 4:10 public hearing for the Village of Lakeview's annexation request. I would entertain a motion to open a public hearing for that purpose.
So moved.
Sure.
For support.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing for the purpose of discussing a Village of Lakeview annexation petition. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're now in a public hearing to discuss the Village of Lakeview's annexation request. We have with us the village manager, police chief, Darren Dode. Come on up, Darren. Oh, if you can't get through that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the board's time. Before you have your documents in regards to our village request for the annexation in regards to a parcel on the north side of Cutler Lode adjacent to our airport. It's a simple request. Ultimately, we have water out in that stretch of the community with future goals of annexing essentially around Tamarack Lake long-term development. But we also know and recognize that if we don't start these processes now, then we're never going to be able to annex the entire lake into the community. And as you know, with the issues you've had in Pearson with septic issues around lakes, we are seeing that coming our direction and we're trying to pre-plan for that. With that being said, the current resident who's requesting this property be brought in, this is at his request. We haven't at this time sought out any other residents, but it is a committee goal at this point to start that process. And honestly, since the Daily News article came out, I've had multiple contacts in regards to requesting to come into the village limits, and essentially for services. Water, sewer, law enforcement protection, our public works services that we offer. So ultimately, there's no surprises here. This doesn't affect the township in any way. So ultimately, it's a very simple request before you.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Manager Dode? We are in a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that has a comment or a question to do with the village's request to annex the portion of Cato Township? No one here has any other questions.
I'm just sliding in. Is there somewhere here where, you say this person, it's at this person's request? Am I missing where that written request is to annex?
I don't know.
Didn't you say it was a property owner that wanted to annex? the
They've
property?
requested it, and
Okay.
and we followed the statute by passing resolution at our level. The next piece is public hearing here, resolution by you is what the statute requires. Same as we did about a year and a half ago.
Right.
We don't have the person, I think Commissioner Peterson asked if the written request was in our packet from
Right.
that individual.
Oh,
Minutes.
should be.
Oh, is it? I hadn't seen it.
What was?
I'm not privy to your packet, so I don't know,
Right. Yeah,
but it was sent over.
I just haven't seen it anywhere. I just want to make sure we're not barnstorming in and taking I don't know. I'm sure, obviously, I'm sure you're on the up and up with it, and I have full faith in you. I just wondered.
Yep, it's a 6-acre parcel on the northwest corner of the airport.
And the property owner just wants in for the city services, sewer, and all that.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, future sewer. He currently has water.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most likely resale value as well.
Correct. And the same individual owns a lake lot. And so he also, his goal is to see that come around the lake. And so it's kind of his first step forward to, add another piece of his property into the mix that he hopes long-term will have those other amenities.
How many other properties do you think could potentially hook up to your services? And do we have any idea how Cato feels about this?
So Cato's not opposed to it because they don't lose any revenue. If we were a city, then we would take it all from them. So in this case, we don't. So realistically, the last time we did the annexation project out by the light where the dollar store came in, where Penny Burleson's house was on the corner, essentially that became a commercial property. Tax value went up. So it actually benefited Cato. So in a lot of these instances where these properties become more marketable because they have water and sewer facilities there, their property values are going to go up, especially if they're on a lake. So most of those residents there are for that. And again, that's also going to benefit Cato Township in their tax roll eventually. So again, this is baby steps to, potentially connect those dots. But long-term, how many residents currently in that, I guess, ring around the lake, if you will, there's roughly 30 homes that would likely be affected immediately, but there's also a lot of vacant ground there. So, our down the road look is, another water tower. We're about 5 years out from either relining our sewer lagoons or debating if we have to go to a treatment facility itself versus just a lagoon system. So, again, it's all up to the engineers on what will be required, but long-term for other septic.
Everyone clear on that? So the first couple of these that I went through were confusing. Cato Township and the village didn't have a great relationship then, and the township opposed those. And I'm talking way back to even like.
You're talking in
Lepping's.
2016
Even
when,
farther back than that, when
Oh.
Lepping Supermarket wanted
Oh.
in.
before my time.
And so the Leppings had petitioned the village for the annexation, and the township board at that time didn't want any part of it, and it was a little bit controversial. It ended up here, didn't end up at the township level, and a lot of people were confused at why the township didn't have a say. And I was one of them, I guess. Why does it come to us and the township doesn't even have a voice? But the reality of it is the township doesn't lose anything in this situation. There's still in this property will still be a Cato Township property. Those taxes that Cato Township currently gets will remain the same. This person will now be obligated to pay village tax on top of it. So there's no financial loss to the township in a situation like this. And I think that's probably why the legislation doesn't let them have, why they don't put it by them for a vote and it just comes here. So.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Baker.
we had the same situation in Howard City area years ago, and it turned out to be a win-win situation for everybody. The people in the city had some help with some of the water and sewer programs. The development in the township created more places that built and provided tax revenue. So both the township and the city benefited. The area benefited. The people that had the property that wanted the change benefited. It was a win-win all the way. So there were people nervous about change, but that situation was an excellent program for Howard City, and it will be for Lakeview as soon as we get it in place.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, if there's nothing else, I think we'll close the public hearing and potentially take action on this then. Is there anyone so inclined?
I moved, come out of public hearing.
Support. Been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
What was the resolution number?
02. We got it in our packet as 01, but you wanted
We
02.
already have a old one.
I think it's 01 for Lakeview.
Yeah.
That's Lakeview's first
Yes.
resolution.
You need to read the whole legal description, or is the address and parcel number good enough?
I think you just got to read the resolution for annexation of the address, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution for annexation of 9440 Cutler Road. That would be resolution 2023-02.
There's support.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to adopt resolution 2023-02, a resolution to alter the boundaries of the village of Lakeview and approving a corresponding order and determination. Discussion.
It sounded a lot different when you said it.
It's just the way it is. Any other discussion?
Seems like a win for everybody.
Didn't
No
think
harm
so.
done.
Yeah, we need a roll call. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Darren.
Up next, our 425, we have the Drain Commissioner Todd Sattler with us to discuss the lake level for Sand Lake. Welcome.
Good afternoon, guys. I'll make this short. Kind of over the last few years after the dam incident over there and some of the recent stuff that's happened up at Higgins Lake, realizing that there's really a lot of lakes that have legal lake levels and they have no infrastructure, no funding mechanism in place. Kent County took it upon themselves to start working through their through their stack of legal lake levels to just decide which ones here are up to code and which ones aren't. Sand Lake was one of those. It's had a legal lake level that's been in effect since 1966. It's a little bit of an oddity because it's an intercounty lake. It splits right down through the middle. We do it together. We have control over it together, but they spearheaded this project, and it was obviously found that there wasn't anything there. So moving forwards, them working in some of the infrastructure stuff that's looking to be needed to be foreclosed in the future, they wanted to work with modifying the court order to be able to create a assessment district for that future stuff. There is no change to the physical level of the lake. Nothing is happening in regards to that, but the court order needs to be amended to be able to show that stuff and to create an assessment district. So the resolution is obviously needed to be able to partner with that, and because the expended cost will be greater than 10,000, much in the same way that we have a resolution for Indian Lake. This is one and the same.
So you need us to adopt this resolution to initiate action to amend the lake level order for Sand Lake? Is that
Correct.
right?
Yep. It's in conjunction. Kent County already did theirs a couple of weeks ago. Once we both have a resolution, then we can file in a petition at the circuit court in that county to be able to proceed.
BO3. So that resolution will be 2023-03. Anyone have any questions for the drain commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve resolution 2023-03 to initiate action to amend the lake level order for Sand Lake.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to adopt resolution 2023-03, resolution to initiate action to amend lake level order for Sand Lake. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
We've got 10 minutes. I don't know if there's other people planning to attend for the combining the clerk and register of deeds office. Maybe we'll go into tonight's correspondence for a minute.
There's a lot of correspondence.
Maybe hit some of it.
All right. All right. Today's correspondence. I'd like to apologize first for sliding in a little late. Plane from Marco Island was a little slow this morning, so. First up, Greenville Area Senior Center Resolution. If you look in your packet, that's page 22. Ryan Dreyer's here, I'm sure, to explain anything. Do you want to talk to this at all, Ryan, or no?
Yeah, do you want me to come up to the table?
Yeah, that's fine.
Got the next one here too. So regarding the Greenville Area Senior Center resolution, I actually received an email from Brenda earlier with some questions to the county's legal counsel, and there was a recommendation made that perhaps this ought to be presented more as a contract, kind of spelling out the agreement between the Commission on Aging and the Senior Center in terms of what benefit each entity will receive in that agreement. So today I'm actually going to request that we table this until the March 13th Board of Commissioners meeting.
I would move to table this until next month's March 13th meeting.
Support. It's been moved and supported to table the discussion on the Greenville Area Senior Center until next meeting in March, first meeting in March. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
What's next, Ryan?
Commission on Aging Executive Board appointment. At our last Executive Board meeting, it was voted unanimously at that time to have Kathy Bresnahan appointed as a member of the Executive Board. So I'm just bringing that request up here to ask permission to have her formally appointed to that board.
Name sounds familiar. Does anybody have any questions for Ryan on this, or any opposition to appointing former Commissioner Bresnahan to the Commission on Aging. If not, I would move to appoint Kathy Bresnahan to the Montcalm County Commission on Aging Executive Board.
Support. Unmoved and supported to appoint Kathy Bresnahan to the Montcalm County Commission on Aging Executive Board. Discussion. If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, Veterans Affairs. Trevor, you're up. This will be page 27 in your packet, if interested.
Okay, again, we'll keep it simple and quick. This is just a request to allow me to submit the application to the state of Michigan for training reimbursement for the 2023 MACVC Spring Conference, which we receive our 16 hours of continuing education units, which we have to maintain to remain accredited with the Department of Veteran Affairs.
So this is just, is this something you do every year or just when you
Yes.
need training? Okay.
Yes, yep, the state provides reimbursement to the county for all spring conferences that we
Okay.
attend.
Does anybody have any questions for Trevor on this one? Where's the training at this year?
This year, Frankenmuth.
Okay. Gonna get a chicken dinner when you're there?
You betcha.
I like that. I like that answer. Does anybody have any serious questions for Trevor? If not, I would move to approve the presented State of Michigan and Montcalm Veterans Association's training reimbursement application for the 2023 MACVC Spring Conference and allow for signatures.
It's been moved and supported to approve the presented State of Michigan MVA training reimbursement app for the 2023 MACVC Spring Conference and allow for the appropriate signatures. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion.
Judge Eggleston is in attendance somewhere. I saw, there he is. Hard to miss, boy, I tell you. He is looking for approval of the court's appointment of Brian Wagner as the 64B District Court Magistrate. Correct me if I'm wrong, this was always the plan, but it was, he had to move here, and was there something about education or training, or is it just moving here?
Yes, you still got to do some educational training before we can start doing civil practice.
Okay.
That's neither here nor here today. He's working on that as we speak, but this is just getting going on everything else. And this is a required prerequisite for that.
Okay. Well, I personally think Brian is a very sharp individual, so I would definitely support this. Does anybody have any questions or comments to either the judge or his future magistrate? If not, I would move to approve the court's appointment of Brian Wagner as the 64B District Court Magistrate.
Support. Been moved and supported to approve the court's appointment of Brian Wagner as 64B District Court Magistrate. Discussion.
What's our situation right now? We just have one magistrate.
Yeah, I got one right now. This will give you the second. Yep.
Okay.
A lot of the primary.
And is Mr. Wagner an attorney or?
No.
No. Okay.
Any
So
other?
in the past, we tried to have at least
Yeah.
one of your magistrate attorneys. I just was
I
curious.
tried to, yeah.
Okay.
He's got a lot of special training though that really counteracts that. He's truly uniquely qualified individual. He's unique in a lot of ways, but uniquely qualified. Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyone else? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
All right. What, do we want to wait until later, or you want to just hammer through right now? What do you want to do?
This is a good place to break.
I mean, it looks like these ones might have a little bit of discussion coming forward, so.
We're close. 3:38. We had a 440 agenda item to combine the clerk and the register of deeds office. So Lori and any guests that you may have can.
I think they spoke at public comment. I guess if there's questions that I want to defer to them, would that be okay?
Sure. You want to come up at least, or
Do you want me to come up? Okay.
what's the pleasure of the board? Do you want to take a spot out there as well?
So we're gonna set them right next to each other.
Stuff you want to come up
This will
and-
be a good,
Yeah.
this will be a good photo op.
It's all right.
Our agenda, the discussion for combining the clerk and the register of deeds office is brought up last meeting by Commissioner Johnston. So we asked for representatives from both offices to be here and initiate that discussion. So I don't know, I'll turn to Commissioner Johnston. Do you have any opening comments or thoughts on how you want to proceed?
Yeah, when I knew that Lori was going to resign from her position, I didn't know if it was something we should look at possibly combining them for a cost savings to the county position. I didn't know if it was something we should look at possibly combining them for a cost savings to the county. And I was afraid of the efficiency part. I wasn't sure about that, but I just, would like to hear some discussion on, where it would go from there and, how much money it might save the county by doing this.
Do you have any specific questions for either one?
Not really. I mean, there's just, I know last month it was asked if our clerk thought it was doable, and she kind of surprised me and said that she thought it'd be very hard, but it was possibly doable. That kind of scared me a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, if there's comments anybody wants to make, or I just curious about the efficiency, if we're going to lose a lot of efficiency or not. And it sounds like, coming from some of the comments so far, that is a big concern.
Either one of you have any answer to that question, I guess, about efficiency? And
I'm not the one that thought it was a good idea, so.
Well, I have some ideas. And first of all, those that gave public comment, I have a great deal of respect for all of you, and I appreciate your comments. So I just want to say that. But I'm thankful that the board's is open to listening to the pros and cons and what could be a possible consolidation of the clerk and the register of deeds. In full disclosure, I want you all to be aware that not only is the Register of Deeds Association opposed to combinations, but so is the Michigan Association of County Clerks. So that's just full disclosure. I, however, believe that it could be advantageous to explore the possible combination of the clerk and the register in our county. Unlike what some believe, this isn't about world domination, starting with the Register of Deeds office here in Montcalm County. It's about what's practical in our quickly changing world and about being good stewards of our taxpayer money. This isn't about any other county other than Montcalm. There are no two counties alike. No two have the same dynamics or demographics. A combination isn't a one-size-fits-all or a solution. The last three Michigan constitutions allow for the combination of a clerk and a register because the duties of the two offices are not practically incompatible. 36 counties in Michigan are now combined, the most recent being Clinton and Ottawa in 2012. So why would I be interested in a possible combination? First of all, the opportunity has presented itself. You don't typically look at a combination unless one of the elected officials is leaving for either retirement or for whatever reason. So the position is going to be open. But as you all acknowledged at your last meeting, the world is quickly changing. We have a lot of things happening in elections in our world. And the thought of being able to cross-train staffs is very attractive, given the fact that we're in the same building, one floor apart. We're going to have early voting that we're going to have to deal with. We don't know how that really is going to affect us yet. We're still waiting on answers from the state. But we'd have to have 3 inspectors, 8 hours per day, 9 days ahead of every state and federal election. And is it feasible to have early voting take places in jurisdictions such as Bushnell Township? That's a tiny little pole barn with absolutely no running water. So the Bureau of Elections is working with the Clerks Association, and it's starting to look like the push is going to be for that early voting to take place at the county seats. So that's one of the reasons I thought that maybe that staff could be utilized. And we're not talking about utilization of the Register of Deeds staff on a daily basis. We're talking about utilization of staff when it's seasonal, when we have the needs that arise. We have centralized absentee ballot counting that's probably going to take place at the county next year. We had 30% of all voters in 2022 voted absentee. So what's more cost effective? Is it more cost effective to have those counting boards here at the county or in each precinct? And again, that's where cross-training would be helpful. We have local clerk turnover that is absolutely killing us. I don't think people really appreciate how much damage it can do to a local jurisdiction when the clerk leaves. So the amount of time that I'm having to spend with those clerks in order to get them up to speed is difficult. I have a fairly young staff, meaning that as far as longevity, they haven't been here real long. But they are learning very quickly and are ready to start taking on more responsibilities. I'm going to have more than just myself out in the field on election day, which would then pull out of the court office. Stephanie's been trained. It's going to pull out of the vital records office. And if you had the staffs cross-trained, you could send somebody upstairs, so at least the office is covered. So a pro, I believe that we can save about 66 to 70% of the current 4-year wage of an elected official. That current wage with benefits is about $380,000 over the course of a term. So that's a savings of somewhere between $250,000 and $266,000 over a term. That would, another pro would be the cross-training of staff. Savings in elections costs by using staff we're already paying and working in collaboration with our cities and townships. And allowing for additional support to our townships for freeing up the vital records and election staff when needed. A con would certainly be that registers and clerks are opposed. Some concerns are valid because 100% of the time wouldn't be able to be focused on the registrar's office. However, good staff is in place in the registrar's office and is already handling the day-to-day operations in that office. It would certainly be a learning curve for me, but one that I'm willing to take on. With the register retiring, I just think that this was the time to start discussion. A decision does not need to be made until March 12th. It says, since Lori has put in writing that she's staying until the end of her term, there's plenty of time to study it and whether or not it would work for our county. I think that there's a lot of work to be done. I don't think that you have or are going to leave here today with all of the information that you need in order to make a decision. I think there's a lot of things that that need to happen. I think that annual reports need to be turned over to the board. I don't know that you have all of the information you need when we come to you when we make requests, and I'm as guilty as every other department. When you don't get pushed to turn them in, we don't turn them in. So you don't know how many things are being filed in everyone's office. We can give you a dollar amount and you see that our revenues look okay, but do you really know how that relates back to all of the different items that we handle in our office? So do you really know how busy that we are? I just think that you need more information before you can make a full decision. Ottawa County put together a great study before their combination, and I think that everyone should read it. I have copied the first 9 pages for all of you, but the attachments are surveys that went out to all of their jurisdictions, as well as other clerk registers that were already combined and asked how it worked. So I think that you need to have the link and go to that survey and take a look. I think it's very enlightening. And in Ottawa County, the study states the combinations are successful when the offices are physically located in the same space or adjacent to each other, one or both of the current officials is eligible to retire, or one of the offices is vacant due to a resignation. Knowledgeable deputies and staff are in place at the time of the transition, and the staff can be cross-trained as much as possible. So we have the first three of those, and I'm certainly willing to work on number 4, so that we would have all of those items. I don't think that the attendance today is shocking by any means. The Deeds Association has always adamantly been opposed to combination, and the Clerks Association is as well. They aren't quite as adamant, but they are opposed. I respect everyone's opinions, but this is our county. It's not Clare County. It's not Newaygo. This is Montcalm. Therefore, I didn't really solicit anyone to attend today. We knew this wasn't a public hearing. I stand on my own merits. This is what I believe. I think it's possible. I think it's worthy of a study, though. I don't think it's something we should be making a quick decision about. I think you should study it, gather information from both of our offices, and then make an educated decision about it. I simply think that savings around $250,000 over 4 years warrants exploring a possible combination, especially knowing that we're going to have election-related expenses that are going to hit us due to that constitutional amendment, and there's nothing we can do about that. So again, I don't think a decision should be rushed. In closing, I want to make it perfectly clear that I am in no way diminishing the importance of the Register of Deeds office. The function is a very important one in this county, and it's to the county and its residents. And to the best of my knowledge, the office functions well. The long-term staff there, having them there is certainly beneficial. And I think there's probably not many registers in the state of Michigan that know more about the Register of Deeds and the laws than Lori does. And I respect her for that. But I believe that it's been proven that a combination could be possible. And bottom line, the decision is the Board of Commissioners. It's completely up to you. If you feel it's worth investigating, I would support that. If you feel that you want to have an elected register that oversees just that office, I'll respect that. But I think it warrants a study before a decision can be made. And I thank you for allowing me to express my position on this.
Or anything from your side?
I don't have that much prepared, but in talking about Ottawa County, when they just talked a few months ago in Muskegon County about combination, there was the deputy clerk or deputy register and the clerk that said how it really is difficult, and they were opposing the combination. So that's kind of the opposite of what you said about Ottawa. They said you won't find any savings. I'm not here from Ottawa, but I believe Stu and the other members, they were at those meetings. So they did not find any savings. You will not find one survey of savings. So to say 66 to 70%, I don't believe that. In Montcalm County, I mean, we're the repository for every home, every farm, every business worth $5 to $6 billion. Do you want to jeopardize that with saying you're not elected the next time? We don't know who the next elected official, so it's not against Chris. I think you do a wonderful job. I know I do a wonderful job. We have wonderful staff. But to put that in jeopardy, I don't know why we would want to do that. We have different offices. It's more than combining 2 offices. It's really combining the abstract office, the Register of Deeds office, the vital, the court, the elections. That's just an umbrella that we do our jobs well. We don't take from the tax dollars. We're a fee-based office, so all of the money that we take in above our expenses last year, we dumped $200,000 into the general fund. My staff and I, we work hard. During COVID, we never shut down. We couldn't because we were ordered by the governor to stay open because we are part of the financial structure. There's many reasons why to not combine. You look at the combination ones, they're large counties and very small counties. Our county, I think the size that our county is and the elected officials that you've had, the staffs, all the procedures in place, I think we work really well.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for either one?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I think it might have been Mr. Sanders that made this comment. I was just looking at my notes. So hypothetical. If I were to come into your office, right? What are the things that only you, as an elected official, can do that one of your assistants cannot do? So what would be an example? I come in and somebody would say, sorry, she's over working, doing clerk work today. We can't help you. What kinds of things would that be?
Guess I'm going to defer that to Stu. I'm not sure. Just at that point, we have chief deputies. It might be if there was a record, something to do with redaction. I guess I'm going to defer to Stu.
So although I joke a lot of times that much of our job is meant to stay archaic, there's ever-changing types of documentation when it comes to our office. Just today, we spent over an hour working as a legislative group in Lansing trying to determine what to do in regards to a particular document that's been coming through the offices that we find to be predatory at best. And
You're talking about the MV Realty?
that specifically.
Well, I sent that to the newspaper. That's why I just
Okay.
wondered if that's
Yeah,
what
so
it.
the MV Realty piece is what we're speaking about, and we were talking about where we go from here. So when something like that were to come in, when you don't have somebody in that office paying attention to those things going through, and all of a sudden you say, well, what is this interesting new document? I can tell you if you go to a larger county that's been combined, I can tell you that they sneak through without question. Because all they're looking for is very specifics. They are not protecting the constituents. They don't have the ability to protect the constituents. We're not picking on our colleagues. They do a great job of what they have to work with. But we have letters from all of them saying that this has been an issue in our offices, that there are things that they should be there and they should be mindful of. And something as simple as that. And if I told you that this company, that particular piece, they go through and they pay you $700 and they attach, what they don't tell you is that they're going to attach a 40-year restriction on your deed. So anytime you go to sell the property for the next 40 years, you're going to have to use their real estate company to sell your property. And if you ever want to buy out of it, you owe them at least 3% at a price point of $250,000 to get out of that. And that's where you run into problems. So now how do you get rid of that? Because they're filing a legal document that it meets the legal requirements to be recorded. So what would stop one of my employees from recording that? There's nothing that they can legally do to stop from recording that. But I can see that document come through and realize, hey, I think this is something different. We need to take a look at this. And when these things are brought to light, they're typically brought to light by those offices that are purely a register of deeds office, because those other clerk registers are going to be in a clerk's office. I've never, trying to think if I've ever been to an office where the clerk register sits in the register of deeds office. If they do, it's very far and few between. So even in the smaller counties, usually you'll see them, they're in a different office. They'd be in a building like this, and one might be in the basement, one might be upstairs, but they're not in that office every day looking at those documents as they come through and paying attention to something that may seem menial at the time, but then come to find out it's a very predatory document. So that was just that's just a very specific case that we're working on right now, but I can guarantee you on a daily basis, we come up with something. As soon as it's one of those things, you get done with that, the next thing pops up. So.
Thank you.
Well, and I would also like to add that I think, Chris, you would agree that from the time that we took office in 1997, how our jobs have changed. They've not stayed the same. I mean, we don't take on less, we take on more, and we take on more. Right now, I know Proposal 2 with the early elections. Right now, we're looking at Daniel's Law, which is a privacy law that we're not even sure how that's going to come down. I mean, that's going to affect us. It's going to affect the qualified voters. It's going to affect our equalization department and assessors. What kind of information can go out there? Daniel's Law is where the judge's son was killed. And now these privacy laws that just passed at the federal level, and now we have to deal with them at the state. That's going to be a huge thing in the Register of Deeds office. It's going to be a huge thing for the county in general. So the jobs keep getting bigger. They don't get smaller.
Okay. Phil, did you have anything else?
No.
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
So Chris, obviously, with taking on bigger responsibilities, I doubt you'll do it for the same pay. What would that, you talk about savings, how much money would it cost us to have you running another elected official office?
When Clinton County combined theirs, they gave the Clinton County clerk a $10,000 increase.
I'm not asking about Clinton County. I'm asking about you.
I think that's fair.
So it would only cost $10,000.
But I think that the deputies, the chief deputies, also need to have their wages looked at. So I would propose that they be brought in line with, I think it's the human resources. It's about a $5,000 increase for those chief deputies.
And would those chief deputies come from your office or the existing?
It would be one from my office, the existing from Lori's, and I would like to change one of mine to an election assistant. So it would be 3 employees.
So you've definitely thought about this.
I've thought about it, yeah. I would never come and say I think there could be a savings if I hadn't looked at the numbers.
Right. Commissioner Johnson was the first one to bring up the savings. As far as cross-training, you have told me personally on multiple occasions you can't cross-train the people in your office to do vital records and court clerk. How in the world are you going to cross-train?
We have cross-trained our chief deputy. She was up here for 4 or 5 months last year, learning elections. So
you're already cross-training
we're
your
trying.
employees.
We're trying. Yep.
I'm just solely going by what you've said before. You said there's no
Yeah.
way that you can cross-train these employees to go with those employees. But now you're saying you're excited about the cross-training.
It's totally different between the courts and the vital records office and the register of deeds and the vitals. We're in the same building where we're pulling.
We've tried to get you in the same building.
Oh, there's no way to get us out into that building.
Okay.
There's not the physical space. And Stephanie can answer that. I mean, she's out there every single day. I'm not out there every single day. But she worked hard at getting cross-trained with elections. Do you feel fully trained? No. And when I leave, you will need to hire an elections
How
director.
long have you
There's
been
no doubt.
cross-training?
I cross-trained for about 4 months.
Okay, so how percentage-wise, 50% trained, you think?
I would say more than that. I mean, more for the vital side, I would say, that's a little bit easier to learn than the election side, just because it does change so much. And there's a lot that goes into elections. I mean, that you can't learn, even in a year or 2, you can't learn everything that has to go in with elections. I would say 75% of the way trained, probably, if I'm being honest.
So if you're saying it would take you probably over a year to get fully trained, I guess I'll ask all 3 of you or just the 2 of you, how long would it take to train people, to cross-train people for the Register of Deeds?
I couldn't answer how long.
I think easily, if we're just talking vital records and court clerk, if that's going to take a year, I would think that it would take at least a year to train cross-train.
Vital records? I would say I wouldn't train them
Register of Deeds.
in the election function that I'm training Stephanie in is completely different than how you train the rest of your vital records employees in regards to elections.
Okay, I'm just speaking in hypotheticals here because I'm trying to figure out, you talk about
I
all
think
these
it would
savings
I would think it would take about 4 months.
to cross-train people
where I would
to
work
be
in the
good
vital records.
To work in vital records and register of deeds, you think it would take 4 months?
And I can't answer how long it would take. Lori feels it would take to train one of my staff down in the registrar's office.
Well, I guess that's where I'm going with it is we have 3, if you include Lori, 4 people in this office currently that are already trained. They're already working. Why would we need more people cross-trained in that?
I need more people upstairs.
I know I've heard you've said that quite a few times.
But I don't need them all the time. That's the thing. I need them seasonally.
So I guess at the end of the day, this is just a big political move. I get it. I get what's trying to go on here, but this just seems like we are wasting both of your guys' time, wasting our time by saying why why are we not combining these two? Well, it's obvious. We have staff for a reason. Why are we going to break or fix something that's not broken? We're not going to save any money. Even if we do, it's going to be minuscule. We have a clerk that's already telling us that she is just swamped with elections and this and that and the other. And why throw more on her plate? I just don't understand it. But I mean, that's up to the board. But I feel like this is just a really not well laid plan, I guess. That's just me, though.
All right. Anyone else?
I guess I am somewhat appreciative of this hearing. Being a new commissioner, I've never really heard the pros and cons as far as, you know, what they are. And so for me to make any sort of, I guess, decision or have any sort of opinion on it, I sort of needed to hear all of this. And I still think there's a ton of information that we don't know. And the question that you proposed to these ladies, they can't answer. How they don't know how long it's going to take to cross train, but someone in Clinton County would. Someone in Ottawa County would know. They've done it. And so I don't believe that these counties that have combined these positions did it without reason. They did it for some reason, and the reason was probably a cost savings. And so there probably is some savings somewhere. So the question is, okay, so what are the cons? The cons are probably service related, and the ability to actually do a good job. And so I do think there are questions that we don't really know. And I mean, I've heard from some folks today in the public that have come today, and they've given me some information that I think is important. I've heard from Chris. There are a few things I would like to know. I'd like to know why these places made the move. Did it work for them? Did they save money? Did they feel like the quality of service was still good? And I don't think we really know that. And so I don't think this was a waste of time. If we go further into it, I guess that'll be our decision. But I do think there is some information that we don't have, that we can't possibly make a good decision on without it.
Commissioner Har, I can tell you, if you look back, a lot of times it was very political between the Board of Commissioners and the elected official for the combination. It truly wasn't about the savings. And that does happen, unfortunately.
What kind of political situations? Like they didn't like a particular person, or
Like if I came up here all the time and I was a pain in the butt to you, and it could be a Republican against a Democrat, it could just be my own beliefs, it could be how I ran the office, it could be many different things. A lot of times it wasn't the savings.
Okay, that's fair.
Anyone else? What's your pleasure?
What's the options here?
Well, we've had a discussion about combining this. We need to have some resolution to this, either a motion to make a decision one way or another, a motion to extend the conversation, I suppose, into another session, a motion to ask the controller or someone else to provide more information. We've got a number of things we could do for action, but we need to take some action to dispose of it today, I guess.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
I would like to see it tabled so we can gather some more information. I have contacted a couple places already. Plan on contacting some more. I have found some that were combined and they've split because it didn't work for them. I found some that have stayed combined because it was that way when they came into office and they just never even thought about it, you know. But I'd like to have some time to try to meet with a few more different counties myself.
Okay. A motion?
Yeah, a motion to table this to gather more information.
Support.
We'll table it till when? And are we gathering the information?
I am. I don't know what anybody else is going to do. I want to find out some more stuff. I want to ask more questions. I want to.
I think what I would like to know is, are there members on this board that want to see this investigated further, or are we done with it? I can go either way. I'm okay with forming a committee. If we want to have a committee to look into it, to bring back some more information, I'm also okay with being done with it today. I mean, but I'd like to hear what some other people are thinking.
Well, we've got a register of deeds here that is not going to retire, so her term doesn't end for another year and 10 months, right?
It's true.
So,
However, today's my first day of being retired, and it's also my birthday.
Happy birthday.
So I guess at the end of the day, we can kick this around. I mean, we can kick this 6 months down the road, but as long as Lori's in office, I for one don't think it's just to just say, oh, we're going to combine them, tough cookies.
Exactly.
So where do we draw the line here? Do we wait a month? Do we wait 6? I guess I don't know. This is all great on paper, but I just feel like if there was just monumental savings, you'd see everybody doing it.
Well, and can I just say one thing, that I was very looking forward to my retirement. My husband and I were in Florida when this meeting happened. I wasn't back here because of some physical, he says, his near brush with death that he's had quite a few times. If I didn't think it was important, I would have never rescinded my resignation to be here today. That's how important I believe keeping the offices the way they are, the way that Chris has worked to get her office to where it is and to where the Register of Deeds office. I don't even, to throw a committee together. That's fine if you want information. I just want you to realize that the Register of Deeds does one thing. We deal with real estate. We deal with it really well. The clerk deals with what they deal with, everything else.
I think one thing that needs to be mentioned is we have a very able-bodied staff in the Register of Deeds office currently. That I would assume, and just knowing Lori like I do, I would assume that she's been grooming her deputy to work as the Register of Deeds. So I think that amount of effort and time needs to be at least discussed and or rewarded. On top of, we don't know what we're in for going into a combination. We have no idea. We can look at Clinton, Ottawa, whoever we want to look at and say, oh, this is what they did. This is how they got there, whatever. And they like it. They don't like it. We don't know we have no idea what we're getting here. We don't know. We know that we have a staff in the office of the Register of Deeds right now. No offense, Lori, but if Lori flew to Florida and never came back, that office wouldn't skip a beat. So what in the world are we even talking about combining offices for when it's just a projected savings? She says $240 or whatever $1,000. That's over the term. That's over her whole term. That's 4 years of money. That's 4 years of a salary to an employee. I get the savings, but this is the first time I think there's ever been talk about savings coming out of that office. That's just my opinion.
Again, much your pleasure. Mr. Johnson had a motion to table. Was there any? Still,
there's no support. So
maybe clearer on how long. Was there just no support, or did we interrupt with the discussion?
There's no support. Let's move on.
So what's an alternative action then?
What are we trying to do?
Can't we just thank them for coming?
Yeah.
Can we?
Can't we just do that? And if Mr. Johnson wants to get it on the agenda at a future meeting, then go ahead.
But are we going to?
After he's gathered what he wants to gather, and if he wants to put it on the agenda, he put it on the agenda.
That's, yeah, great.
Just like you or I could put something on the agenda, right?
Yeah.
So thanking them for coming is just no action. We're not taking any further. We heard the discussion and that's where it ends.
I personally wouldn't feel comfortable voting for anything at this point. Laura, do you want to take over the office of clerk?
Are you going to combine?
Yeah. You'd be in
I guess
charge
I'll
of
be
both.
running. I don't know what to say. It's so hypothetical. All of these things are so I truly would like to know that you guys, what you thought today about the combination. Just for, I mean, we're not up here lying to you. We're giving you our best case. We both have been in office for many years. We both have great offices that run. I don't know why you're even, if there was a true cost savings, there is not. So what are we talking? Even if you were talking, if you were going to combine and I ran, I'd hope the salary, before you get somebody to run for that position, it's going to have to be more than $10,000 extra dollars. There's no county that would just be the most, I would never think of doing that to anybody. That's going to be a huge responsibility. All you are at that point is you're an administrator. That's all you are. So I don't even remember what your question was.
You wanted to take over the clerk's office.
Why would I ever want to do that?
I don't know.
I don't either. I've never said I wanted to, but I'd never say that I wouldn't run for it.
Nobody's asked you. That's why I'm asking you.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I would move to not combine the register of deeds and county clerk's office.
for support.
There's 83 counties in Michigan. About 40% of those counties combine them. And so I think it's worth asking why. I mean, is there a cost savings? I don't know. But I don't think anyone on this board knows.
So how are we going to
Quite
find out?
frankly,
How are we going to find out?
you talk to the places that have it.
But we're
You
talking about
ask them.
Montcalm County. How are we going to find out if it's going to save us money?
Well, because to run a similar sized county, to run two different offices is going to be similar. Clinton County is very similar to us. They would probably be able to tell us.
Clinton County?
Very.
Clinton County's touching Lansing.
Yeah, the north half of Lansing.
I understand. But as far as population,
Clare County is very close to us, and that clerk register absolutely opposes this. They're probably the closest to our size. That was Lori Martin that he read the letter from.
I think if you look at demographics and you look at size, Clinton County is very similar.
The other ones are big and then south.
Much pleasure.
I made a motion. It failed.
Anyone else want to take a run at it? I guess there's no action.
Thanks for coming, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
This was a fun first day of not being retired.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Peterson.
Oh, back to
Correspondence.
correspondence. I am going to go to the prosecutor's office employment request. Lisa has indicated their last day will be May 5th. Our go live date for paperless system is April 17th. Andrea would like to start someone before that. 6-week overlap. Andrea, take it away.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm sure most of you know Lisa Rogers, 25 plus year employee with the county, has indicated her last day will be May 5th. And in fact, our lunch is going to be her retirement party, Cinco de Mayo, right? So 25 years is a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge that we have to glean from her and help train the next person who comes in. Plus, we are going to be in the midst in April. Well, actually, it's going to start more in March. This go live Carpel thing which is our paperless system, which is going to be a huge learning curve for everybody in our office, and how to use it. They started out about a month, I think, before the actual go live date to get us kind of into it. But it'd be very helpful to have a new person learn right from the Carpel people, as we all are learning and training and figuring this whole new system out, that none of us have any idea what it's going to mean for us, because it's just something we've never done. So again, it'd be very nice to have this person on board, not only shadowing, basically it's going to be shadowing Lisa and Holly, depending on how this transition goes. And also then learning how to do this new system of paperless. And again, just there's so much that goes on in the clerical bullpen, I'll call it, with respect to felonies, misdemeanors, probate courts, all that stuff, that it'd be nice to have that person again be there for at least 6 weeks. Now, I have had a vacancy in my office in the assistant prosecutor 2 position, which is the more, which is the higher level, so more money salary position for 4 weeks. I'm happy to report my new guy did start today. So I am full up again, which is very nice. But again, I had that 4-week vacancy, so there's that salary that could be utilized within my budget to cover the 6 week, because it's going to be obviously less to fund a office assistant than it would be an assistant prosecutor 2. Plus, and Brenda, correct me if I'm wrong, I've requested $240,000 of the ARPA money, which you guys approved. But I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be able to utilize all that by the time the 2024, when you have to spend it all, because it was 4 years of contract. And that's just talking with Brenda. Am I right about that? Do you think there's going to be money there?
Yeah, but we won't be using it probably for.
Well, but I'm just saying
personnel
there's going to be
expense.
that money. And again, for training for Carpel, since that's what the money was going for, you can certainly utilize it to help me train this person who's going to eventually start or, be in the office full time.
Not sure about that.
Eventually, whatever. So that's why I'm asking for the 6-week overlap. We've had a lot of turnover in a short time. I lost, a 16-year chief assistant prosecutor, another assistant prosecutor. They left on the same day due to different reasons. I brought in 2 new people. Help getting them, up to speed is obviously a time consuming. And now with the idea of losing Lisa in May, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of, learning and getting these people up to speed. So just to have somebody and have Lisa available more than anything to help train this new person, it's going to be invaluable, especially again, given her, all the knowledge that she has over the last 25 years. I guess that's it. So I'm asking that you allow me to, post right away. I want to post it right away so I can get applications in, so I can get the interview process done, so that I can get them on board that 6 weeks ahead of time. If you have any questions, be happy to answer.
Anyone have any questions for the prosecutor?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Andrea, what's your normal overlap time?
I haven't had a vacancy in so long. I don't know. It's probably somewhere in the 2 to 3 week range. But this is an unusual situation when I'm losing somebody that's been there for so long. It's not like I'm losing, somebody. It's not like I'm losing somebody who's only been there a few years and Lisa is there to help train them. You know what I mean? If Lisa's not there now, then there's nobody that can train to do her job, because she is, she's been my office manager. She's been number 1 in my office of the clerical staff for practically as long as she's been there. So to not have her there to help train would be kind of hard. I mean, Lisa has done not only office manager, so everything that goes with that. She's my felony clerical, which is, obviously the most serious cases. She's been my crime victim advocate when we lost the crime victim advocate. Her and Holly split that spot. So she knows everything there is to know about being, running the office, essentially. So again, not having her there to help train the new person is going to be really difficult.
Nobody below Lisa knows how to do Lisa's job.
Holly probably has a good idea, but again, she hasn't done all of the things that Lisa has done. There's a lot of reporting and stuff like that only Lisa has done. There's other things that only Lisa has done.
Is there 3 weeks worth of stuff that Lisa's done? That only Lisa has done?
I'm not sure your question.
Is there 3 weeks worth of training of stuff that only Lisa's done, and then
I don't know. I mean, if that's the best I can do, I'll take it. But I'd certainly like 6, if not, how about 4?
how about 2?
I thought we were negotiating. Again, the money's there. It's not like you're going to have to dip into extra money. It's there. I haven't used it. My budget is there because I've had a vacancy. So it's not like I'm going to be going over my budget.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Cohen.
You haven't even started to look for somebody yet. How long do you think it's going to take to even make an offer?
The last time we had to hire for the crime victim advocate, we got a decent number of resumes, which was surprising because we hadn't gotten them before. I've heard other offices, who have been hiring those positions have gotten a decent number of resumes. So I'm hopeful that we will get a good crop of resumes quickly. But again, that's kind of why I want to start it now, because I don't know. It's going to be important to have somebody ready to go whenever I can, so that we're not losing that overlap time. I mean, May, I didn't think May was really that close, but as I was reminded by my chief assistant, who's sitting right behind me, that's pretty quick. And to post, get resumes, set up interviews. We're also doing the rest of our job, going to court, reviewing police reports, all that stuff in between all of this, interviewing and trying to get somebody in there. So it's not like we can devote X number of days to just interviewing, just reviewing resumes, just doing one thing. We're going to be spread thin as it is.
And I would assume if you made someone a job offer, that they would want to give their current employer a certain amount of notice before they left that job.
2
So
weeks. Yeah.
are we realistically talking about a good month in order to get somebody in the seat?
Oh yeah. I
If
mean,
you started today?
If we're talking 6 weeks, we're talking at least end of March, early April is my 6 week, probably end of March to do my 6 weeks. So yeah, so that gives me, a good 4 weeks. The posting can go up pretty quick on the
Right.
websites and some other stuff, which I hope would generate resumes. And then it's just a question of reviewing those and getting interviews scheduled.
Couldn't you post for it right now?
Pardon me?
Couldn't you post for it right now without our permission?
I suppose. I guess.
Yeah, you're filling a vacancy.
Yes.
She just, without the approval she's asking for, she couldn't fill it till Lisa was.
Yeah,
done
I
on the
wouldn't be able to
current
fill it
policy.
till after May 5th.
Gotcha.
And so I guess in order to effectively interview somebody, they're going to want to know, well, what's my start date, And I'm going to need to know that so that they can give that 2 week or whatever notice they're going to need to give to their other employer to be able to start when we want them to start.
I'm sick of talking. Somebody else.
Anyone?
See, I think this is unusual circumstance for me in my office at this point, at this time, given, who's leaving and just the amount of turnover we've had and the fact that we're going to be starting this paperless system in the midst of it all. And that's why I'm pretty much asking for, I think, 2 extra weeks instead of 4, asking for 6. Plus, I think I have the money there to cover it. So you're not going to be spending money that I don't have.
Lisa's been a rock in that office for a long time. It's going to be hard to replace her, and 6 weeks seems reasonable.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to allow the prosecutor to post for an office assistant position immediately and allow for a 6-week overlap training period for the new hire.
Support. Moved and supported to allow the prosecutor to post for an office assistant position immediately and allow for a 6-week overlap training period for the new hire. Discussion.
I would have went for 4.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
You might think you can get 6
Okay, next up, Treasurer's Office employment request. Oh, page 31 in your packet. Cindy Christensen is retiring. Joanne would like to have someone in her office by March 10th, so Cindy can start training. That's 21 days of training. So she would like to post the position ASAP, and you see the wage in front of you. Joanne, would you like to say anything to this?
Other than the fact that Cindy has been with the county for 37, I think it is, years.
Something like that, yeah.
And she is a wealth of knowledge in the job that she does in my office. There's no one else in the office that can do what she does right now. I know a lot of it. My chief deputy knows a lot of it, but there's nobody else that can do it. So it'd be a big help for us to have someone in that Cindy can help train. And I would have been here sooner, but the girls have been having trouble figuring out for sure when they're going to leave. Cindy has made the decision that she will be done the last of March. I have another one that'll be retiring either the end of April or May. And at this point, I'm not sure if I'm going to ask you to replace her. I have done some restructuring in my office in anticipation of these girls retiring. And Joyce, who does all of the title work for the tax parcels that are in forfeiture and foreclosure, and his previous experience with title companies and stuff, I have jobbed that out. I've hired that part of the work out to a different company. And the pool of money that pays for that is what's called a search fee that's added on when the property is forfeited on March 1st. And that's $175 per parcel. And that money has been being used to pay for the staff of Cindy and Joyce. That's what's been paying that. The delinquent tax revolving fund has been paying those wages and bennies and stuff. So that being said, in anticipation of knowing there's going to be some changes in my office, I thought it would be the best for the public that the office would have people not have to have somebody that has all the knowledge that the girls that are retiring has. And it takes the burden off the office. So that's kind of where I'm coming at. I can't say for sure because I don't know for sure when Joyce is going to retire, but my chief deputy, Angel, and I have been talking about it, and we think now that that part of Joyce's job has been reassigned. I mean, that's not answering the phone, answering questions, selling dog license, all that. Everybody, we're all cross-trained in my office, but there's a good chance that I'm not going to ask you to replace that. I can't say for sure, but that's where we're leaning. And so it'd be real beneficial to the office to get someone in that can be trained in what Cindy does. And Cindy takes in the deposits from all your different offices that come in. She receipts those in. She does the electronic
payments that come in from the state of Michigan. And I do that, and so does Angel. But the bigger part too of what she does is she works with the local units in regards to their tax rolls and working with them on what's coming up here real quick, which is settlement, and getting information, making sure what they've sent in to us, what was levied, what was sent in that they collected, and what's not collected, all balances back, other than adjustments. She also does all of the board review changes that are for previous years. The local unit has control of those records, but anything prior is handled here in my office. And so there's a lot that she does that other people in my office don't do. So it'd be a beneficial to have somebody so that we can get them started. And I don't honestly know how many people are going to be interested in working for the wage. I don't know, but I want to give it a try.
So the starting wage is at $17.28. It looks like for the administrative age, the starting wage is $16.80.
Did I make a mistake there?
Yeah, you put in the non-union rate on your agenda request. That's a unionized position.
Oh,
1680
okay.
Starting wage.
I stand corrected. I know neither of them pay union dues or anything, so I didn't think about that.
They're all three of them are union.
Does anybody have anything for Joanne about this position? Joanne, how strongly do you feel about not filling the next position? Is it maybe 60, 70%? Is it 50%?
60, 70. There'd have to be something else that would really change, I think, in my office that would really warrant having that. I know it's probably not usual for a department head to come in and say, hey, I'm going to basically be willing to reduce my staff. But the way it looks right now, we feel like we could handle that because we're not doing all that title work and all the, we've got reams and reams of files and things that we aren't going to do anymore.
Is there a savings there? Does that outside company cost the same as what Joyce would have made or Joyce's replacement would make?
It just depends how many parcels get forfeited because I don't know for sure until I forfeit how many I'll have in that pool. The other thing is that in that pool of money, there's like an excess of funds that haven't been spent, but that's just on paper. The money's not in a separate little pot somewhere. So as I go from year to year, I keep track of how much revenue there was, how much the expenses were, and if it was over or under, the delinquent tax revolving fund makes up the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd like to also bring up the fact that the interest earned in the accounts right now is going to be substantial. And I'd like to see some of it put to use.
Does anybody have anything for Joanne?
She's basically asking for 3 weeks overlap. We just granted the prosecutor 6. So I don't know how we can, kick this any harder to death.
Well, I was just making sure there was no more questions before I made a motion. See, we should have put the treasurer first. Then we could have said, sorry, Andrea,
Set that
we're not
bar.
giving you 6.
Note for next time, Michelle.
Set that bar really low.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to allow the treasurer to hire someone effective 3/10/23 at the starting wage of $16.80 for an administrative aid. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Support. Moved and supported to allow the treasurer to post and hire someone by 3/10/23 with with an overlap of 3 weeks before that. Is that right? 3/10/23 would be the start date, or when Cindy would leave.
No, she's.
No,
been-
Cindy's leaving the 31st.
So 3/10.
So
is the
3/10 would be
start.
3 weeks.
Okay. At the rate of $16.80 per hour for an administrative aide. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, the Sheriff's Office Police Protection Agreement. Looks like this is a renewal of essentially the same contract, minus one deputy. Ron, you're from over there. Why are they taking away one deputy?
It's the sheriff's design.
The sheriff's design?
Yeah, it wasn't a request. It was the sheriff's determination to do that.
Can you elaborate?
Well,
do you know why, I guess?
Yeah, he's trying to keep track of all the townships in the county, and he wants to spread his deputies around the county, the way I understand it. And Howard City is using too many of them. So he wants to tap into that workforce and utilize them elsewhere. It's the story I got. He didn't tell me that directly, but
So he's taking one of these deputies that Howard City contracts with and putting them into the millage.
what he's doing is he's taking, if you read the contracts, he's reducing the hours to the contracts, which means he doesn't have to utilize as many deputies to honor that many hours.
Yeah.
I think they're having a very difficult time filling the positions, and they'd love to obviously get to 24/7. And I haven't talked to Sheriff Williams; it's just my experience. And so I think he feels these contracts are eating up manpower that could ultimately help him get to 24-hour road patrol. I think that if a municipality came to the sheriff's office right now, in fact, I know, and said, "Hey, we'd like to contract," I think he probably would say no, because his focus is trying to get 24/7 across the county.
In the interest of resolving his 24-hour commitment to the county, he's jeopardizing the deputies available for the Howard City contract, in a nutshell.
Basically, yep. And Howard City's not too happy about it.
Oh, really?
What I've heard.
Well, I see the signature of the village manager on the contract.
So
Mike?
Howard City's not excited about this?
Correct.
Oh,
He signed the contract. I think Mike got him in the corner or something. I'm not sure.
I have to assume he agrees with it if he signed it.
I assume he did.
either that or it was, this is the way it is, I guess.
I think that's what it was.
Oh, well, easy enough.
Sort of like a corner.
Sort of like the corner. Man, that's something. I would move to approve the Howard City and Reynolds Township Police Protection contracts and allow for the appropriate signatures.
Support. Moved and supported to approve the Howard City and Reynolds Township Police Contract Agreements and obtain the appropriate signatures. Discussion. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up, the administration building interior painting request. I see Doug back there in the corner closing the brand new blinds. I didn't notice until I sat down.
He's not sleeping.
I love it.
Short, I couldn't reach it. So
At our expense.
we'll get it closed before the next meeting. Thank you. So we did solicit bids from 5 contractors. 4 of them actually gave us prices. In front of you, you'll have the motion to join a contract with Jack Joustra Painting for the amount of $26,604 to paint the interior of all the offices and public areas. We are not doing any storage rooms, closets, anything to that effect on this building. This building, MSU, and the drain commissioners.
Is this room getting painted?
Yep.
What color?
Pretty close to the color it is. It's a little different shade. We're trying to get everything down to one color. So when we do have to make repairs, we know what color it is. Nobody knows what color this room is.
Nobody knows what color it is. So are we gonna match it to what's down in equalization and veterans?
Correct. It's the color we already used when we did the vets area and the equalization a couple of years ago.
I would say this
Color?
is like an asylum
Plus-
cream.
And as a reminder, we did some plaster repairs, so that'll help cover that up as well.
And Jack Jelstra is out of Sheridan.
Correct.
I see that Ron Baker Painting put in a bid. Of course, it's the highest.
Just so it would be avoided.
Oh, you didn't want to paint in here?
He's not my cousin.
Does anybody have any questions for Doug about the painting of the buildings? If not,
I have a question. What's wrong with the paint in here?
it's asylum cream, man.
I don't
We're
care
trying
what
to
color.
get it
What's
to-
wrong with it? Why does it need to be painted?
Plaster work. that
We
was
had plaster work
done.
here that has a touch of the new paint on it. That when the light's right.
Still can't see it.
Go to some of the offices, they look really bad because
What
they
about,
used
they're talking about painting here,
flat paint.
right?
Yeah, the whole building, this whole building, yeah.
I just don't see the need for this room to be painted.
If you can get it done for half price, it's a good deal.
Big mark on the wall back there.
26 sounds push it out 10 years.
Well, you can vote no, my man.
Well, I don't know about the other rooms. This room I see,
Then look at my office.
and it looks fine.
You want to hold this up and you go wandering around?
No? Then I vote, okay.
With all due respect, we tried that a couple months ago.
I'm going by what our maintenance director is saying. We need paint. I did not. I was waiting for questions.
Yeah, it is. I
I
can
don't know if it
remember.
did and there wasn't support or where we're at.
Does anybody else have anything for Doug?
Yes. How much
Okay.
will it cost to paint this room? Was that $26,000?
Look. Well, which one's this?
$604. How's that?
This one's Parker Painting. It doesn't say. There's Jack Jelstra. Painting of all hallways and walls, all office bathrooms, lobby areas, public restrooms, plaster ceilings, and removal of wallpaper in 2 offices. That's 21,000.
Yeah, so that's this section.
He doesn't split
And then the 2-story addition is where MSU is.
It's just bunked into one big price.
Right. So we don't know how much money we'd save by leaving this one out.
Nope.
No, we don't.
The paint is 21 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks
It's
great.
2002 when we did this building.
You're making a face. Does it look bad to you?
Oh, don't do that. Gosh.
I got some pretty good dings over here.
All right.
Yeah, that wall's kind of beat up. Would it make you feel better if they like put a silhouette of your face back there in the corner or something, paint that up?
No, I know what the walls of my house look like, and they don't look any better than this.
You want
I'm
me to
not
call
thinking
Jack
about painting them.
Jelstra's? You want me to call Jack Jelstra's? Have him come to your house? He could freshen you up, man.
Well, let's waste as much taxpayer money as we can. We'll paint this room twice. It'll look real nice.
It'll get just a little bit smaller. I would like to make a motion to contract with Jack Jelstra Painting for the interior painting of the administration, MSU, and drain buildings for the amount not to exceed $26,604.
Support. It's been moved and supported to contract with Jack Jelstra Painting for the interior painting of the administration, MSU E, and the drain buildings in the amount of $26,604. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. All right, emergency services sick time donation requests. These are becoming a little bit more prominent. Eric, I thought Eric would be here. Eric Smith and Doris Case each want to donate 80 hours of sick time to Barry Christensen. Barry was out most of December, depleted most of his sick bank. He came back briefly, only to be hospitalized again, and will be off longer now with almost no sick time left. The motion is asking to donate 80 hours of sick time. Does anyone have any questions that I obviously cannot answer?
We've kind of set that as an example. I don't know how we can not grant this. We can discuss it for an hour and a half, but we're not going to have any way to say no.
He didn't even have enough sick time for this week's paycheck.
So is he coming back, or is this just?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the intent.
I mean, I don't disagree with the chairman. I don't think there's any way we can say no, but
It's in the past, the explanation or the logic in allowing it was hours that these employees earned and could use themselves. So it was already earned by them. And if they want to donate it to a fellow employee, they weren't out anything.
no, I think it's justified. It just is what it is. Does anybody have any questions, comments,
question.
concerns?
I have a question. Is this 80 hours or 160?
160.
Because
Oh, they both
There's two
want to
people
donate
giving up
80?
80
Oh, that was my
Worst case to donate.
if we're going to do a motion, if we're going to support it, we need to have
that
the
was
right
my
number. in there.
intention or my assumption that
Or
it was 80
each, add the
each.
word each in there.
Oh, I thought it was 80 total.
Right. That's, I guess, what I thought. Do we know the answer to that?
Brief description. It says Eric Smith and Doris Case each.
Okay.
Each.
There you go.
EACA.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, above. Yeah. Okay.
Chairman,
Pardon?
I'll move
I'll support.
to
It's been moved and supported to approve Eric Smith and Doris Case to donate 80 hours each of sick time to Barry Christensen. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up, Community Corrections Advisory Board appointments. The list can be found on page 50 of your packet. Looks like Brian Bloomstrom to represent police chiefs, James Andelor to represent Department of Health and Human Services, Dusty Gibson to represent Montcalm Care Network, and Brian Wagner to be an official participant in lieu of Judge Eggleston. Anybody have any questions about these appointments? If not, I would move to approve the appointments of the Community Corrections Advisory Board as presented.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the appointments of the Community Corrections Advisory Board as presented. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up, the Ford Lincoln Park rental rules. I'm sure Brenda can talk to this a little bit more, but it looks like we've had some people cancel and we haven't been able to re-rent the park.
Mhm.
And we'd like to put in deposits.
Just update the number of days and the amount of deposit due at the time of rental, basically. So instead of, so we're just having them pay their $100 deposit and 50% of the rental fee instead of 25% of the rental fee within 5 days of renting it instead of 10. Before, when they only had to pay 25%, it seemed like that was an amount that people were okay with canceling and losing out on.
And then it's hard to re-rent it with that short
with
notice.
short notice, we can't turn around and rent it back out, and we need all those weeks rented out to, like, I had to do a $5,000 appropriation from the general fund for this year's budget to make them balance. So
Current policy is not allowing us to cover the costs.
Right,
because we're losing fees.
right.
So you're just suggesting that we go to 50% of whatever they're paying, whatever the rate. If they do it for the week,
Right.
they'd pay $750 within 10 days of receiving the rental agreement.
Then 5, we want
Okay,
to change that to
5.
5. Because Michelle does everything by email now. We don't do the by
Right.
snail mail, post office.
So 60 days prior to your reservation, so 2 months, is that enough time to get that
I think so.
filled up again?
I think so. And that kind of just correlated better with the next paragraph. The 60-day cancellation and calendar days. I don't know why those two were different, but before.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions about the suggested rule changes to the rental agreement for Ford Lincoln Park? If not, I would move to approve the updated Ford Lincoln Park rules and rental form as presented by the controller.
It's been moved and supported to approve the updated Ford Lincoln Park rules and rental form as presented by the controller. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, fiscal year 2023 budget review. I will hand that off to Brenda.
All right. Made my usual notes on the right column there. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. You'll see some big numbers in some of those percentages, and that's just due to ARPA funding or ARPA spending. We don't budget for it because we don't know what it's going to be basically. But that'll be in my first round of budget adjustments next month. So you'll see that come into line once we do those adjustments percentage wise. But that's kind of an ongoing thing every month. State is really slow at reimbursing and making payments right now. There are things we haven't been reimbursed yet for October. So it's just really slow getting money in from the state. Then the general fund comparison with the 3 years columns there, Phil, for you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that difference is due to ARPA, the ARPA funding and spending on the revenue and the expense side. But everything looks good, I believe. There's a few revenue numbers that are down compared to last year. If you look at those, there's a few that are up. So,
Does anybody got anything for Brenda on the budget review? Okay.
auditors are coming in tomorrow.
That was going to be my next question.
So
Is
they'll
that going to be the
on-site
first time they've been here?
Yeah, it might be the only day they come. They
Really?
can get it all done. Yeah, they do everything remote now, other than when their sample. They come and collect their sample.
Boy, they used to set up shop next
For a
door, didn't
week,
they? Yeah.
or 2 weeks actually. Yeah, so there's a lot more work on us the way they do it. now.
Weird,
So we have
but they
to
probably charge more. Though,
scan
right?
and-
Okay, budget review is done. Warrant report. Does anybody have anything on the warrant report? I had a couple of things. She was brought up before. Kathy Bresnahan, it just says organizational meeting. What? I don't know what that means. Per diem and travel mileage. And Judy Evans is on here. It never says what it's for.
For the Board of Canvassers.
She's on that?
She was recently appointed.
Does the board have to approve that appointment?
Not in a midterm.
Is Judy Evans on there too?
Yep, she was just recently appointed as well.
Well, that answers that question. And then there's just other crazy charges, but I'm sure they're for lawyers. Does anybody have anything on the warrant report? If not, I would move to approve and allow for the appropriate signatures. Warrant number 02132-023, the amount of $586,269.51.
It's been moved and supported to approve warrant number 02132023 in the amount of $586,269.51. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, consent agenda item number 14, MDOT Specialized Service Project Authorization. That is something I can speak a lot to because I have no idea about it. Does anybody have anything on that? If not, I would move to place item 14 of the consent agenda on file.
Support. It's been moved and supported to place item 14 of the consent agenda on file. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, the rest is just for your information. And if there is nothing else, then that will be your board correspondence for Monday, February 13th.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Peterson. Up next is committee reports, and we don't have any. New business, item 1, clerk correspondence.
I don't have
Number 2, controller correspondence.
The only thing I have was at Phil's request there, I reached out to the attorney to see what it would cost for him to work on a blight, uniform blight. He quoted me between $1,200 and $2,200 to do something similar to the examples I gave him from another county.
Is
What's
he
up?
also
I
the
bet that's less than it costs to paint this room.
Do you want to bet on that? I wouldn't mind you taking me out to dinner, Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he also the counsel that said the current one wasn't stick?
Yes. Yes.
Well, and just going in the direction that I've been going, I would make a motion to direct the controller to have legal counsel draft something up and start to move forward, I guess.
Support. It's been moved and supported to allow the controller to have our legal counsel draft a blight ordinance to be adopted by the townships interested in adopting one. Discussion. So a couple things with that. I kind of talked about that with the townships I represent. I don't know if anyone's committed to whether they're interested in that process or not. They seem receptive, but nobody has said absolutely go ahead and do that. So are we sure, is that the direction we want to go? And the other part of the questioning of that, I guess I wonder is, I read an article in the Daily News, the sheriff was quoted as saying that he had, and I don't know if I'm getting this word for word, he had understood that the commissioners' council had said that the county's current plan wasn't enforceable, but he was going to continue to write citations until the judge told him not to. So do we need to have a conversation with the sheriff and get an understanding of if he and or the judge are comfortable with the current situation? Do we need to do anything further? Or do we?
Well, I guess in my mind on just doing this is just a template. This is kind of what we talked about with, or what I talked about with the township supervisors that I met with,
Right.
that we would see what we can do at the county level, put this together and then take it back and go over it.
Right, it absolutely is. But at this point, if the sheriff doesn't care that the current one, he believes the current one is fine and he's not going to change until the judge tells him it isn't fine. So it seems like the judge, and I'm not trying to put words in the judge's mouth, but it seems like the judge believes that the current one is fine. I mean, back to my point of asking 10 attorneys and you get 10 different answers.
Yeah.
At one time, we had an attorney that told us that was a good ordinance. That's why it's on the books. Now we've got one telling us it's not, and we've told all the townships that it's not. And why don't you come to the table and adopt this new one? But now I read that the sheriff is continuing to enforce under the old one. So Is there,
Is there a reason for a new ordinance?
Exactly.
We may have one.
do we just continue business as usual? I
You
mean,
have one.
the sheriff, pardon?
I said we may have one, and then I changed it and said we do have one.
Well, the sheriff is the enforcing agency. We're trying to fix a problem that now doesn't look like it's there. He's continuing to write citations under the old system. So
I guess, yeah, I guess at that point, the question becomes, is it simple enough and broad enough that all of the townships will be happy with it? I haven't read that in a long time, so I don't know. It might be something we want to talk to the township supervisors about before we spend, a couple $1,000s on a new ordinance that may not be any better than the one we have.
and or possibly having in this a motion to direct the controller to have legal counsel draft this new ordinance. Maybe we need to have the controller get some feeling from the sheriff and or the judge at whether we need one or not.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
It seems to me that the talk was about getting one adjusted so it fit our county was basically because the one that was in place, the state law that's in place said along highways. And if the problem along highways is not the problem, and we have a problem other places besides along highways, but if that's not the problem, then we don't have an ordinance. If that state law only applies to along highways. So I think that's the real dispute that the attorney needs to resolve. And if we get that answer, then we might know where we're headed. And I think it's worth $1,000 or $2 to get that pinned down so we can have a legitimate template for the county that applies to every place, whether they want to endorse one or not. That will apply.
What the attorney told me was because the county's unzoned, we can't have a blight ordinance. It has to be held by the townships. And then they have agreement with the sheriff to enforce it. If we were zoned, then we can have a blight ordinance.
Which is what we do then. We already do that, right?
We have a blight ordinance, but
No,
we're not zoned.
the townships have their ordinances and the sheriff enforces it.
No, he's operating under our ordinance that we've been
okay.
told wouldn't stand up in a court of law.
Because the highway,
zoned.
because I don't know where that highway rule comes in, but it seems to me like
That was the MCL that was written
a long time ago.
Based on that MCL. Yeah.
My original intent for this was not to create a countywide ordinance that just encompasses everything as far as this is the ordinance, this is what we're doing now. It was to create an ordinance that all townships can get behind to streamline the I guess making everything the same. So there's just one uniform ordinance across the board. So the sheriff isn't looking, oh, I guess Belvedere's township noise ordinance starts at 11 and Montcalm township starts at 10. That was all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get something done, but I'm sure the sheriff's doing everything he can to enforce whatever, but I just thought that this would help. If it's not the temperature of the board, please vote no.
Well, up until the last read in the Daily News, I'm with you. I believe that we were making some headway for the betterment of every township. They would have a model ordinance that they could adopt if they felt like it. And if they did adopt that, then they could enforce that ordinance themselves, or they could count on the sheriff's department for help enforcing it. But now that I read the sheriff is continuing to just enforce the old one because until the judge tells him it's not enforceable. So are we?
Well, I guess what's wrong with giving the sheriff a better tool than the one he has now?
I don't know if he'll take it. Is what we're going to spend all this time, and then they're going to say the old one is. I don't know. I guess that's why I wonder if we need to have a conversation with the sheriff and the judge to determine whether or not they want this, or if you think it's just it'll be there and they can use it if they want to. That's
this was just meant to just streamline the whole deal. I I'm not trying to go out to every township and say, this is what you're doing now. I was gonna try and get a draft written up that our legal counsel thinks would work, have the sheriff and the judge sign off on it, then take it to the townships and say, this is what we've been presented. If this is what you guys want to do, cool. Please add some notes to it. And I mean, it's not like that's going to be the letter of the law right there, and this is what you have to adopt. It was going to be, you know, a work in progress. It's not, we're going to get this sent out, you know, next month and either get on board or get out of the way. But that was just what I had envisioned, but it's.
Me too.
It's not.
I agree. I share the same vision.
Okay.
Do we have any reason to believe that the county ordinance that we have on the books right now is not sufficient?
Just from what our lawyer said.
But since the county's not zoned, there's nothing it should be enforcing.
Okay, but currently, as far as we know, that the court is enforcing it.
Yep.
It hasn't been challenged yet.
Pat, can I clarify something?
There,
I think you're referring to the story I had in Saturday's Daily News about Blight. The sheriff made comments, does that sound right?
could be.
His comment was he would continue to enforce the ordinance for now until he hears otherwise from commissioners. He didn't mention the judge. And he also says if the commissioners have a vision for a better system, he's fully in support of that effort.
I must have read it wrong. I thought he said until I heard from the judge. Thanks for the clarification. So, sounds like with that, we need to move forward with the plan, but still, is there a need to communicate something with the sheriff about what we're doing from this side of things?
I guess that's where I was going with it was we get this in play, or we get our lawyer to draft this up. We send it to the sheriff and the judge and the prosecuting attorney to sign off of first.
Okay. Then put it to the townships.
Then we go from there.
Okay.
I guess that's where I saw it going, but if you guys don't.
Sound good. I stand corrected.
I'll call the question, I guess.
The motion on the floor is to direct the controller to work with our legal counsel to draft a sample blight ordinance that the townships can adopt, right? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else in controller correspondence? Chairman correspondence, I don't have anything. Old business, building keys discussion.
All right, so that was me, put that back on there. So basically I reached out to Justin Johnson and Matt Murray, who are the chairs for both the parties, via email, and explained to them, our concerns with them having keys to the building. I actually had a phone conversation with Matt Murray, and he totally agreed, in today's climate, he understood why, we might not want non-employee to have keys to the building and have after-hours meeting. And he was okay with that. He says, we can go to a church, or we can go to a park, or we can go somewhere else. The Democratic Party hasn't had a meeting here since November, I think it is. They're moving their meetings around the county now. I don't know if he plans on having another one here or not, but is that you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And so I can let you speak to that. They can ask you questions if you want. So I guess I just want an answer. I want to put it, we didn't do anything, didn't make any decisions the last time. I guess my feeling is we don't have after-hours meetings at the court complex. We don't have after-hours meetings at the sheriff's department. We don't allow non-employees to have keys to those buildings, Why do we have to be the guinea pigs? I don't know.
And Michelle and I were discussing the agenda and the items that were on it. Michelle mentioned when she worked at MCC that they had a position, someone was a monitor. And I wonder if that's needed in a situation like this, that we hire someone be a part-time monitor. They would come in, unlock the building, be here for the time that the meeting was in place. Make sure that the building's clear and lock up at the end, and we have a few bucks into the monitor, but then our key situation is more secure. And maybe that plays into some discussion we've even had about these meetings going past the time. I know we've talked about a security company or someone else, but maybe just as simple as a person that's a monitor. So in the case of like our meeting or one of the party meetings, they unlock the door, they hang around downstairs where the door's unlocked and monitor the flow in and out. And when the last person from the meeting leaves, they lock up and punch out, and we pay them for the hours worked. That might be a solution. I feel better about that than telling those parties that they can't meet here, being a public building or a taxpayer building, and something that we've allowed for a number of years and without any real problem. If we had a specific problem when we had to change course would be different, but I do agree the key issue is a problem. We need to have a better handle on our keys, but I don't know that we've had a problem with those groups using the building per se.
I guess we were having a problem in this room, so we shoved them over to that room.
Yeah, I don't
We
think
can't keep anything in there now. We used to store stuff in there. We have files and for planning commission and that, but we don't anymore now.
Well,
I guess that's the only thing really, other than
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess in my mind, it's not like we're having a bunch of ruffians, and I don't know. We're not having a bunch of degenerates come in here and stir up a bunch of trouble. I would bet you 98% of the population in this county have no idea when the Democratic and Republican parties even meet.
But it started as an employee who had keys.
Gotcha.
That's how it all started. And it migrated to giving keys to non-employees. And one non-employee lost that key and it was never recovered. So there's a key floating around out there somewhere to the building right now. And no one knows where it's at.
It is a public building, and I would hate to see schools, township, cities, villages all just tell the public that they're just not going to allow the public to use their buildings for reasonable purposes. I mean, this is taxpayer funded, and I'd like to look for as many ways as possible that taxpayers can use the space. I don't know. I just, it's a public building, and it doesn't sound like there's been a lot of issues in the past. I don't see a lot of advantages, or really any advantages, to shutting this place off for a meeting use. I don't really think it makes us any safer. I don't really think it does anything other than upset the public.
Mr. Chairman?
Can you ask him how many people come to his meeting?
Sure.
How many people come to your meeting?
We've had as many as about 60. It gets a little tight in there, but we're grateful for it. We make it work.
I'm not opposed to public use of the building, but I am bothered by non-employees having keys.
Me too.
I don't have a key to the Central Montcalm High School, that bugs me.
Does me too. And it always has.
And so having a monitor to open the door, close the door, and they can come in, use the building, but having keys floating around, I don't like that at all.
Security with a monitor and a sign in, sign out sheet would contain every person that was in and out. So you know exactly who came in and exactly who left. If they didn't sign out, then they're still in there. I mean, it'd be awful hard to actually check every nook and cranny in this place before somebody left. Somebody could hide in here, I suppose, if they wanted to do damage to files or things that aren't locked up. That would be sad. And we could control that with a monitor and a sign in, sign out sheet would account for everybody.
We don't have to have all the entrances unlocked either, do we?
No.
The one down here where
The
handicapped
the handicap,
accessible
yes.
and open that. And the monitors stay right there and
Just like they did under COVID when they had someone checking when they came in.
So we're talking about a monitor. This person's gonna work what?
never the
2 hour? I mean, how is that any different than a that's gonna be our employee?
Sure.
I think we just open it up. I think we just open it up to current employees. If somebody wanted to make some extra money and be here on a as needed basis when there was a meeting, and we probably need to sign up a couple of them because they might not be available.
And
We
I'm
would
not
know a
against
month
the
ahead of time
monitor,
on a meeting.
but what exactly is the fear here? The fear someone's going to start breaking down doors and start destroying files? Is that what, I mean, the fear doesn't seem legitimate to me.
I'm not saying I'm
I mean, if they
fearful.
wanted to come through the building, they start breaking windows. I mean, we can't stop crime. I mean, people really want to do something, they'll do it. And if we give this gentleman or a Republican Party Democrat a key, I just don't really see. I mean, I'd like to hear the fear spelled out because I think it's irrational.
It's not fearful. I think it's bad policy to hand out keys to the building to people that don't work here. We have no control over it. You give a key to Bob, Bob gives the key to Sally, Sally gives the key to Mark. We don't know who has that key. Something happens, it's our responsibility. How's that gonna look? Oh, we just gave a couple keys away and somebody came in and vandalized the building. We have no idea who it could be.
So if somebody gets a key, so we're suggesting or we're inferring that this person is coming in to do damage?
No, you just don't give keys to non-employees. That's silly.
How many keys do you pass out to your house?
Yeah.
My house isn't locked, so come on over anytime.
And the people that have the key shouldn't want that responsibility either. They're the custodian of the key.
So we're gonna pay somebody to come up here for an hour, 2, 3, and watch.
We'll get reimbursed. We're not doing this for
By
free,
who?
are we? If somebody wants a meeting, they can shell out the $20 to pay somebody.
$20?
What? I don't know what they're getting paid. It's a public building, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come with a charge. Just like a park, public park, you still pay to use it.
$1,500.
If they want to use the building, they can pay for having the building locked and unlocked.
I don't think we're handing out keys to just anybody. They're coming here to use it to talk about politics.
The other solution was Adam brought up a month or two ago that we could have a keyless system. So, and you could control that by the day or by the hour. So you punch in that the Republican Party is going to come tonight and
They have
use
the access for that amount
key
of time.
code 51 or whatever, and that's good until 9 o'clock, and then it doesn't work anymore. That might be an option.
That'd be better if we wanted to put it in.
I've thought that that's a better option for this building, period.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know who's coming and going.
The old key system is just, I mean, I'm sure it works, but Doug, what would your thoughts be on a keyless entry system?
Keyless entry system like you're talking about, one, is expensive, and two, who's gonna reset the code every time something comes up?
Reset the code?
Well, you're talking that you'd have a code that would be active from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for that group, and then that code would be deactivated. I don't know who's gonna handle all of that. I'm talking another computer system. Andy Dozman, the undersheriff, can tell you what a pain it is to activate, deactivate swipe cards.
As far as
Getting on
turning
the
them on and
computer.
off?
Yeah.
I guess in my simple scenario here, you could use it from a computer and say, this person has access from this time to this time, or that door is open from this time. I mean, I don't know. Or it's just locked and we give a key card to whoever. And then if
give
they're
a card to anybody who wants one.
no, but then if they lose it, it's off. It's deactivated.
If we know they lost it.
Right.
I'm sure they would just sweep it under the rug and say, "Oh no, we're still using the building." Whatever. Let's lock it down. Bars on the windows and everything.
I think with those systems, at least like Greenville Public Schools, we can give a time frame. If we have a coach, his access is from like 2 to 7, and it's that way until we change it. I mean, and you can do it for day of the week. And so maybe it's a different system, but it seems pretty simple. Basically, that the Republican Party, the Democrat Party would have a key that would get them in between this hour and this hour. And I think you program it once, and then unless you change it, that's the way the key works. If they were to come outside those hours, it wouldn't work.
But the coach is an employee.
Well, let's
So
put
does
them on
somebody
the
want to
table.
come in and have a birthday party in the gymnasium? Do you let them do that?
I don't know. That'll probably go to the building administrator.
Would let them in, not just hand them a key.
I know where I'm having my next birthday party.
I don't know. A birthday party is going on at schools now.
Right here. So this is the exact same discussion we had 2 months ago. And then the same discussion we had 2 months before that.
Yep.
We need to come to a conclusion and not talk about this again.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to sound like ARPA money to me.
Or Juneteenth.
Or Juneteenth.
So you're gonna make a motion to give
I'm gonna
everybody
make
in town a key.
Yes.
If it's a public
If
building,
everybody's allowed in, nobody's going to destroy
so
it.
every citizen should get a key.
I agree
Keep the
with
system as it is.
that. Sounds like Phil just made it.
Just keep the doors
Just
unlocked.
cut a lot of keys. It just not even lock the doors.
Just unlock the doors.
Nobody's saying
Feel
that.
like kind of vagrant.
Well, then you make a motion then, homie.
I'm not ready to make a motion yet.
Okay.
Stop.
Is this some sort of weird filibuster you're doing right now?
I want this on the agenda next time.
I moved to place
the
this
time
the
after
end of the,
that.
oh, you don't want to move to place it on the agenda next time?
I'm gonna ponder. I didn't know it was gonna be on the agenda this time, but I saw it last week, so. I figured you put it on there because you want to talk more about it.
Absolutely. I love spending most of my night here.
So we're going to table it till the next meeting?
What are we going to say then? Hey, let's talk about key cards. Let's talk about the security risks. And then we'll say, let's table it.
Is there
Somebody just
anything
needs to
you
make
can
a
drag Doug to look into for you that you'd feel good about? Is there any research you want to know about a keyless system?
I feel good about the way it is.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less. I'm not the one that comes in the morning though.
I'll stop trying.
I'm sorry, man. it's the same thing.
Well, let's just move on then. We're 6:30. We're way past productive. This isn't going anywhere. I agree. So to entertain a motion. Well, public comments.
Patient.
Patients. Chuck Hayes Camp, 463 South Nevins Road. Sydney Township, I serve on the Commission on Aging Executive Board with Ron, been on the board for about 9 years. And I came originally to talk about the donation or the funds going to the parking lot for this Greenville Senior Center. In support of that, the commission has supported other purchases like that in the past, not to this degree as far as dollar amount. But we have done refrigerators, I think, at the Howard City Senior Center. And so it's just coming to support that. Regarding the access to the building, he spent 30 years in public schools, and most of that time was physical plant responsibilities. We had electronic key systems, but we always had somebody in the building that knew about the systems in the building. So if somebody pulled a fire alarm, you knew how to reset it or where to reset it. If there was an issue with somebody broke a plumbing fixture, the employee knew where to shut off the water. So that was, and it was public schools that required having a knowledgeable person on staff anytime an outside user was using the buildings. Regarding the Register of Deeds and clerk situation, as I'm sitting here listening to this, my biggest concern as a property owner is the security of the title for my property. And I think everybody's probably heard the latest insurance thing. It's been ID, ID theft, insurance, LifeLock and all that. Now they have it for your properties as well. I didn't feel the need to even look at it because I know Lori and I know the systems here are, people know the people in this county. So if something comes through that looks kind of wonky, you got enough people knowledgeable and intimate with the county properties that they could throw up a red flag for it. In my education, one of my classes was organizational structure and design class. And one of the thing that stuck out most from that class 20 years ago was the design and structure of an organization determines its results. And when you start looking at the boatload of work that Chris has got, if Chris ever left, those are huge shoes to fill. I mean, she just does a phenomenal job with that stuff. And I think she's looked at, throughout the state for helping to solve some of the problems that clerks all over the state are having to deal with over the last few years, the issues that have come up with the election laws and the election stuff that's gone on, to dilute that expertise with a whole nother range of knowledge that is extremely important to the residents of the county. I don't know that would be in the best interest. The money, I don't think should be an issue. I think it ought to be the effectiveness and security of our properties and the election security of what goes on in Montcalm County. We can't control what goes on in the city of Detroit, but I'm pretty confident that what goes on in Montcalm County is on the up and up as far as our elections. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing real quick so I can get out of here and not hit here? I misspoke when I said that Cindy had only been here 37 years. She's been here 44 years. She started when she was 18. So for her, I want to make sure.
Yeah, thank you. 44 years.
I'm Matt Murray. I'm the chairman of the Montcalm County Republican Party. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to use the facility thus far. Having a key is not my favorite thing, I'm going to be honest, because I do, there is a level of responsibility and worry that you have with that. But our party is large enough now, the people attending the meetings are large enough now that we don't have the luxury of using a restaurant or something of that nature, because there's no way that there's a restaurant in Montcalm County that could accommodate a group as large as we have. There are some possibilities for some churches that we could utilize. The thing I like about using the courthouse is how neutral it is. We have, I think that we have a pretty diverse group, and I appreciate that. And my preference would be to stay here, at least as long as it fits us size-wise. I am not, certainly not lobbying to keep the keys, but I am lobbying to be able to continue to use the facility. So if there's something that needs to be addressed, I mean, I can't speak for the Democratic Party, but I'm open. I want to do whatever works best. I think that we can arrive at something that everybody can agree works for all of us. And that's what I got. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Any other public comments? If not,
I move to adjourn.
I support that.
it's been moved and supported to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.
See ya.
The only thing I just thought of too